All right, we are out here at our test flight facility with Develop Air, a new version of World's iVue and the iVue RC app. By and large, it's just a kind of creature comfort sort of update for being able to track Develop Air alongside a Waypoint mission in an even better way than what I just previously showed off in our last video. And there's also an issue where sometimes Develop Air would land and iVue RC would not see it automatically disarm, so now that should be fixed after Develop Air completes a Waypoint mission. Let's go ahead, plug in our radio, just a USB radio here. We'll be flying an automated mission for the most part, but then as long as this USB cable works and it wasn't indeed a bug with this version of the iVue RC app, or the last version, now this version as well, then we will be able to fly Develop Air with our game controller back to us as well. Stay. Good boy. All right. Come on, bomb the nose. Everybody, let's go. All right. And I actually didn't read out the version. Let me go out. Like a bird. Sorry. Version 1.6.0 released on January 28th at 6:13 p.m. All right. We're going to allow this time. Select connect. Just select our radio from the drop down. Zoom into Develop Air's position. And Mohit also wants to see the firmware version of Develop Air, so we use RoboControl as our base firmware for Develop Air, and so don't know what version we are, and there's no way of telling in the iVue RC app, so we could disconnect, go over to QGroundControl and look. I did just request that we have a way to check the firmware version in the iVue RC app, so be on the lookout for that. But at the end of this mission, we'll also have to switch out into QGroundControl to check that firmware version. And Mohit is our lead developer, for those who are not familiar yet. All right, so we're going to just create a waypoint mission, nice and simple like, hitting the plus icon to then be able to set a point anywhere on the map. We'll have it fly over closer to the bank over there. And we'll have it fly there at an altitude of 15 feet. And then we'll have it pause there for 10 seconds. And then we will have it go over to closer to the strip mall over there. An altitude of 15 feet. We'll change the heading just to make sure this still works in this newest version. Type custom heading or choose heading on the map. We'll use the arrow, as I think that's the most intuitive. Maybe the design aesthetic can be improved upon, but you know, can it always? And after that, I think we'll just have it return back to... Actually, we'll see if it lands at the end as it should. So at this last waypoint here, it should land. And then we can take back off manually with the controller and fly it back over here. So let's upload to mission, upload mission to drone. Mission upload successful, as indicated by the check mark we just saw. Back to the drone menu, we have a connection to 32 satellites, so now we should just be able to hit start mission. We're gonna start mission, arming. And look at that, a one-click start. Wow. All a boy could have ever asked for and more. All right. And so we should, as I mentioned, be able to follow along. I wasn't paying attention, so any of you that were watching the iVue RC screen while I was not, wow, look at that. You could see the orange line being drawn real time. So it doesn't actually show all the deviations, or it shows the deviations while it's flying, but then it doesn't look like it leaves the deviation. Actually, no, it's not a perfectly straight line, so I think it did work as intended. So now I told developer to land at the end, and it is not landing at the end. So I guess Mohit, that's a bug that needs to be addressed. So let's go ahead with the land not completing. We will plug it in our game controller and fly it back over here to us. Come with me, and you'll see. A world of pure imagination. All right, we are in loiter mode, and I have the game controller connected nice and smoothly, just flying developer right back to my position. So I guess, Mohit, the next update we want is to be able to view developers' flight on iVue RC. So we should be able to basically trace the whole flight of developer. So as we see it moving around, kind of like it was on a Waypoint mission, it was drawing an orange line. It should basically be drawing an orange line even when you're free flying. So basically, if you were to crash, you could like retrace the flight to where it crashed on the screen, other than just, seeing developer's position. You could, again, trace like the breadcrumbs all the way back, but I guess be on the lookout for that update, hopefully here soon. Have another couple bigger updates in the works that may take precedent, but I trust Mohit to kind of process and manage our software development roadmap. He does a fairly good job at it. No, still not disarmed. So, Mohit, this is another update that needs to be made. Even if it's not armed via the arm button, it should detect if it's armed through another way. I did just hear the beep that it's disarmed, at least allegedly. Yep, so giving it throttle and not taking back off. Otherwise, that could end in a very catastrophic way for a less experienced user or operator. All right, but let's switch over to QGroundControl. I'm disconnecting here in the iVue RC app, opening up my Spotlight search, opening QGroundControl. All right, we are running firmware version 4.6.2, and you can see there is a later stable version 4.6.3, but that really is all that we needed out of QGroundControl. So I think that's it for this test flight. We may be out here later with some different test updates to maybe the developer micro rebuilt, attempting another automated flight with it, as well as some other hardware design updates to developer we have going on in the workshop. But in any case, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Peace. Have a good one.